Comment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. And joining me today, as always, I'm joining him as Mr. Seeley. Sir, how are you?
Good morning, sir. It's always good to be in company with you. And
Thank you. Appreciate that.
what I always say is when two or more are gathered in the name of funktivity,
Yes.
funky things are bound to happen. So we're going to hold it down for Sister D, for Prof D.
Yes, and D'Angela is not here this week. She's out handling business. Everything is fine. She's just taking a break for this week. Blessings to her. Safe travels. I think she's traveling, but everything is good. We're going to hold it down this week. So as we get into, as we always do, we want to always shout out the very first person who was in the chat this morning, and that was Anna B. Anna B., congratulations to you. Salute. Good morning, Prince Pals. This summer class is cool. And also, I think we got another person jumping in. Boom.
Yo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yo.
He dropped it. Yo.
Good morning to you, good sir.
Good morning, Mr. McGinnis. How you doing, man?
Look here, man. My granddaddy say I'm vertical. When I'm vertical, I'm good. Is when I get horizontal, I worry about it. So
I heard it, man. I heard it.
Joining us, big, sexy, and sax, sir. How you doing this morning?
Oh man, I'm dragging slow. Had a rough day in court yesterday, but it's all good, man. Always, recover. Always recover.
All right. Now you weren't in the P. Diddy trial, were you? Or you?
No, wasn't up in that.
I know you be working a lot of music cases, but
yeah, that wasn't the music case. That's a little more to it than
that. For sure. Move away from that. All right, let's get things going as we always like to play some music. And we're going to get into the approved playlist in a second. But since I'm hosting, I need to ease into, some of my music that I just love to kind of start this Saturday morning off. So indulge me for a quick second. And as we do this, we're going to do our roll call in the chat. Cassandra, what's happening?
Enjoyed it last week.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, for Porter 1, South Park, Texas. Okay. I'm loving it. How you say my man's name?
Tausafy?
Yeah.
Tausafy? Yeah.
Love it. All right. Arlene, happy Saturday.
What's happening, Professor Oak?
Nick, good morning from Denver.
The Mile High Club.
Lord. Drea, how you doing, Drea? What's going on? Ronald, what's happening? Christina, not flying this weekend?
Let's go. She back in Minneapolis showing love.
Okay. Dorothy Edwards.
What's happening, Sister Edwards?
Elder Barra, what's happening? What up? Yeah, Melvin Rush. Melvin.
That's an R&B soul singer name if you ever hear one. Give it up.
Yeah, and that's what he is, right? Purple Cat Confetti. Hey, yo, Kim.
Timekeeper in the house.
What's going on, Kim? I don't have a button, but I'll do it.
There you go.
What up, Love Sexy?
All right. TP in the building.
What's up, Sister TP?
My sister, Web Diva.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah. All right. What we got in here? Swan, what up? Andrea. We got another school teacher in the building. Karan, what's going on?
There we go.
And just a salute to the teachers out there, man. And see yourself, educators.
Appreciate it. And keep it on Karan for a second, because whenever her avatar shows up, all I want to say is, that's my typhoon. So she rocking the typhoon. That's my new fool. So yeah, shout out to Karan for rocking the typhoon.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Hey. All right, man. Who else we got in here? Ronald. We see you. lunch with Prince as opposed to dinner or breakfast with Prince.
Lunch
Or
with
maybe
Prince,
brunch.
and dinner with Dolores.
There you go.
Okay, I see. I didn't even get the connection. Man. Tanja, what's going on, family?
All through the night.
All through the night. With love. All right, what's up to Tanja? That's my sister. I think, did we get everybody? Chris? He said, hey,
Chris.
Big Sexy.
Brother Burnett.
Of course, another good brother, JD Washington.
JD in the house.
JD the intellect. That's my guy.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Man, real quick, I remember the first time I met JD in person. This brother actually came to Seattle. I think he came for a football game. That's why I was like, okay, this brother balling. Like somebody just coming to town to see the game. I was like, okay. And then he was like, yo, maybe we could meet real quick. And sure enough, went into the city. Brother had a copy of was it Jesse Johnson? What was the second Jesse album called? Not the second, excuse me. The double album.
Verbal penetration.
Verbal penetration. Yes, I believe he gave me a copy of that. That was dope.
That's cool.
Good brother. He's giving me there's some recent stuff I got.
And that's the cut too.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, we got a salute to D68A.
Wait a minute. Gotta do it like this.
Go ahead.
This is the D68A show. There we go.
That's what's up. Did I say 68D or A? My bad. 68A. And salute to you. You put in a lot of work.
Yep.
We love it. We absolutely love it. Okay, let's get through this stuff here. Gabrielle, I see you from the down under. Good day, mate.
Oh, Lord.
On my Crocodile Dundee. That's a shame. That's what I know, because that's back in my day, dating myself. When the kids like, what the hell is a Crocodile Dundee? Do your Googles.
There you go. Young people.
Lady, cab driver. Yes. Okay. I think we want other people. What's going on? Cool music. Bubba Dooba. Nah. What's going on? By his listen, you look nice tonight. We're gonna keep it moving.
What's my name? It's David, ain't it?
I think that's the name of a Steely Dan song, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think so too.
What up, Purple Peep? So good to see the crew. Hey, Michael, read. Yes. Somewhere, D'Angelo, read it.
That was hilarious.
Go back to watch last week's episode. That'll make sense to you. She was so hard on me. I had to call HR, and she had to sit out this week. Let's run with that narrative, shall we?
So wrong.
Mooch is from Philly. What's going on, Philly? All right, Kim, the put some bass in your voice edition. Oh, I love that. All right, we can be here all day giving shout outs, but we see you in the chat. Thank you so much, Todd. Jump through a few here. I think we saw what's going on. Hey. All right, let's begin, shall we? We are here at week 26, and before I do that, so I don't get my whooping when mommy comes back, let me play the official approved playlist. I'm just messing with you, D. Hey. Welcome to What Did Prince Do This Week? I am your host, Michael Dean. And also joining me is Big Sexy and Sax. Sir, how are you?
I am doing well and enjoying the playlist, actually.
All right. And also, the professor, the man who will tell you, all right, I'm done, or I'll shut up. The one and the only.
Good morning, good people.
Sir, how are you, sir?
Oh man, look here. I'm like I said, I'm happy to be vertical. So I'm glad to be here with y'all. Glad to be in company with you two brothers.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, if you will, we are here. We're going to get things rocking. But thanks once again to everybody in the audience. Thanks to D'Angela. Thanks to Ricky. If Ricky's coming in late, we've got a seat over here for you. We're ready for you. And with that said, let me get through what I need to get through. So this is week 26, and we're in the year 1985. Do any one of you guys remember anything from 1985 that you used to do back then?
Well, for me, 85 means the 85 Bears and the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Interesting.
Yep.
You know, and they put out a beating in the NFL that year, boy. And the best thing about that team is they would beat you down and then talk to you at the same time. Yep. You couldn't do anything about it.
And I have to floss just a little bit, because one of the stars from that team, Sweetness, Walter Payton,
Yes.
Jackson State University graduate, one of the greatest running backs.
Yes, he was
of all time. So he was putting on for HBCUs and for Jackson State. So yeah, I definitely remember that 85 Bears team. And I just remember being in high school and still having dreams of being a professional baseball player and trying to figure out where that writing was gonna go. And that's what I was doing, man. I was and like everybody else, trying to make sure that the purple collection was tight.
That's it. Yeah, it's hard to remember specifically 85. I have to think of it in terms of school. I guess I would have been a sophomore at this time, I want to say. And probably the top of mind was some Prince stuff and my hair. I had to look like I came straight out of some the line of people that got rejected to be extras of Purple Rain. I had that hair, dude.
A lot of us did, brother.
Back when it was dripping.
Had the California curl whipping myself. Oh yes.
California.
Let your soul glow. Let your soul glow.
Had an activator bottle in the back pocket. Oh yeah.
And you couldn't tell me nothing.
Oh, yeah.
What's sad is y'all saying had. I still got my rusty hair. So that's a damn shame. I'm still.
You still holding on.
That's it. That's it, man. So
what's that? Anyway,
Mike, you walked right by it, man. 85. The one word in 85. Outrageous.
Yo.
Lionel
Outrageous Richard.
That's right. Okay. All right. And let me move my computer over so I can see the screen. What do we do this week? We are going week to week, not day to day, but Saturday to Sunday, not date to date. What did Prince do this week? We have our own QR code. You can scan that and get on our detailed schedule so you can follow along. You do not need the paperback edition to participate. Hey, you don't even need the book to participate, but how you going to come to class and you ain't got your study materials?
Why are you looking at me?
Hit dogs will holler. Put them up. We're going to put the book up. Salute to Duane. Phenomenal book. Part 2. This is the sequel. We ready for the last of the, I don't want to say the last, but part 3. We are ready for part 3. But right now we're reading 2. Let me get this. I apologize. Bye, y'all. Yes, these are archived on youtube.com at Polish Studio. Polish Solid. Sorry. I'm trying to read and look at stuff. And also you can find it at youtube.com/@mdean. Let me get through this, Michael. What did Prince do this week? Of course, WDPDTW. It's the hashtag. Do people use hashtags anymore? I heard they about to eliminate those from Twitter or something.
Really?
What?
Foolishness. Also, the estate. Let me get it. Let me do this Prince style. How about that? I'm going to do the Rainbow Children. What if Rainbow Children, if this was on the Rainbow Children album?
Uh-oh.
What did Prince do this week? The estate of Prince Rogers Notions is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club, nor has it endorsed or sponsored the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series.
Further, for those who can't stand that, further, The estate of Prince Roger Nelson has not licensed any of its intellectual property to the producers, advertisers, wait,
Advertisers?
or directors of What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. There you go.
All right, that's enough.
Also, what did Prince do this week? Community guidelines. The one, so we choose to be a community even when we disagree. There's a invisible text underneath it that says,
But watch your tone and delivery.
so
There you go.
there you go. All right. The song that we did here, one of the Songs we heard, how do you say this name? Aguadilla?
I'll take your word for it.
There you go.
So, oh, is Dilla's on this? No.
Something by Eric Leeds.
Dilla is not. This is, who is on it? It is composed by Eric Leeds and Prince, arranged by Eric Leeds, featuring Eric Leeds, Ricky Peterson, Christopher Walker, Dennis Chambers, Larry Frantangelo, London Steele, Charlie, not today, Michael, Brian Lunch, and Conrad Herwig. Love it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your hard work and creativity and expertise. And yes, he is looking clean on that. It was almost as if in another world where the Paisley Park artists blew the hell up and became superstars, Eric Lee, this was actually Eric Lee's James Bond run.
Right.
where Eric was Bond.
You can always
Eric
tell
Lee. Go ahead.
when a person is too cool when they don't look at the camera on their album cover.
Right.
You got to look away from the camera. I'm
So
too cool to take that picture.
He's looking at the old lady that's behind him in the reflect. I'm thinking that's some.
Oh, yeah.
and
No,
he's
he's catching her.
He's like, yeah, let me go holler. Yeah.
How you doing, girl? All right.
You ever heard of Prince? I taught him everything he knows.
Baby, it all comes from me. That's right.
I brought jazz to Prince. You feel me? Let me leave.
Okay, church boy. Okay, choir boy.
All right.
I put the whole thing together.
Yeah. This is me. So this is if you can believe it, and for some of you maybe watching for the first time, this is episode 129.
Whew.
So we've been doing this for a little bit.
Yes, sir.
You know, we kind of know what we're doing. Now this week, Prince, no new songs recorded, not even in the studio, which this is rare. Now for a lot of artists or a lot of people, this day career, like on a normal, is that 0-0. They were just kicking it or whatever. But Prince, normally he be in the studio all day, every day, or rehearsing. So this is a rare sort of moment. Of course, some of the songs that we have this week that aren't new but were worked on: Pop Life Remix, Sheila E., Life Can Be So Nice, My Sex, Too Rough. Those are two different songs. That was a hell of a day right there. Teacher, Yeah, You Know, Carousel, Prince Returned from France, and then Jealous Girl Rehearsal. All right. So, Big Sexy, you don't have the book, huh?
Not in front of me, no.
Okay.
I know. All is prepared. I know.
I'll start off the reading.
Sweetie, if you want to start, please.
There you go. So we are Sunday, June 23rd, right?
Yes.
All right. Pop Life, Sheila's remix, overdub edits. Life Can Be So Nice. Likely vocal overdub mix. Sunset Sound Studio 3, 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Producer Sheila E. listed as Vanity spelled backwards. Artist Sheila E. listed as Chiquita Banana spelled backwards. I'm glad I ate a lot of them as a child because I could recognize Chiquita. I was like, what is it? Oh, it's Chiquita. Never mind.
Hilarious.
Although dated a girl named Chiquita, but that's a whole other discussion. Let's move on. Engineer David Leonard listed as David Crockett and Frito Benito spelled backwards. Assistant engineer Mike Kloster listed as Nestle's Crunch White Chocolate spelled backwards. You want the quote?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so this is Sheila quote. I had heard all kinds of things throughout the years about what working with him was like, and he's the sweetest, nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. He makes you feel you can do anything. There are no rules, no limits. He sets you on a pedestal and says, you can do it. That's Sheila quote. More
Right.
work was done by Sheila on the remix for Pop Life, including the additions of the chanting elements and the French traditional song of Frere Jacques. All right. Pop Life was finished and mixed down to a half-inch tape. With Prince still away in France, Sheila's growing confidence in her abilities in the studio continued to be expressed on the daily work order. Besides writing the names and nicknames backwards, Sheila signed it as Annabelle and Antiquillic. That close enough. All right. Which is Chiquita Banana. All right, backwards. She also wrote Susanna's English Muffin Head. Plies the big nose off of her big head and her big lip from when I hit her, ha ha, which was also written backwards.
Damn, sure.
Yeah, really. Look at you can tell when the boss ain't there and you feeling yourself. Hey, I'm the captain now, right?
One thing I'll say about I've never met her, but I don't know if it's different now. She must have been with the jokes back then. Like,
yeah,
she was hella fun. You know what I'm saying? And from Oakland too. I bet you they was going in. But anyway.
Look, that's the video I want. Them the tapes.
Yeah.
I want. Right. So a mix of Life Can Be So Nice, which included cowbells that were likely overdubbed during the session, was also likely created. Normally, Wendy and Lisa would have output this from their sessions at the Complex Studio, but they were out of town attending the Bobby Poe's 14th Annual Radio Record Seminar and Awards Banquet in Atlanta and accepting an award for Prince, who was still in France. So the track was output from here on this date. 3 C60 cassettes were made from their work, and that is it.
Interesting. Big Sexy, before we went, you need any thoughts? Or you want to chime in?
You know, again, and this is me being really, really nitpicky. What's with the C60s, man? Those are some bunk tapes, man. You know, because back in the day, you know, and again, those are TDK. And for our younger people, when we had cassette decks and all that happening, there's 3 levels of tapes. There's the bunk C series, which is normal bias. Then you'd have your SA and SAX high bias. And for us audiophiles, we would have the MA and MAX metal series. Now, if you're going to be serious about your music, you have to, at minimum, have to have high bias. Because, yes, there is a difference. You know, those C60 tapes, bunk. Got to get that out.
And to Big Six's point, this is an actual true story. I think I was 15, 16, and I was making cassette tapes. And my father walked in and saw the cassette tapes and said, quote, "What is this bullshit you putting your music on?" and walked out. So,
there it is.
Well, I will say this. You know, in another life, I used to work at this place called Pro Tape in Seattle. And all we did was service all of the music studios in our area. This is back when music business was crazy. So there was a ton of studios. But I will tell you, one of the big sellers of the various cassette tapes that we would carry was the SA tape. I think it was a lot because of the price.
Right.
And in terms of the quality, what you got for the price is acceptable. And it was a throwaway type of thing anyway. Versus if somebody was trying to, you know, keep something a long term, they probably wouldn't even put it on a cassette tape in that way anyway, right? If you're going to store it. So it was always sort of a throwaway type of thing, but it was enough to give you a reference, I guess, to what you heard. It was clear enough.
And accurate enough so you can reproduce it. Yeah.
And I think somebody put in the chat, we have to remember that they're not making these under the notion that they're going to be bootlegged 1,000,000 times.
Right.
Like, I think that we listen, a lot of us are listening from like, why is it so crappy? Well, we didn't know y'all was going to be doing this. So
it was just so you can learn it for that night. You're probably going to get another tape the other day anyway. So, you know what I mean? Like the rehearsal of this one. So it wasn't like these are supposed to be pristine and again, they probably never knew. They probably thought like, I mean, they weren't thinking about legacy or any of that back then. So, gosh, I got to learn this song tonight. All right. So, all right. Well,
and one other thing I say about what I also like about this is, and we alluded to it, and I like that you put it that way, that Sheila was with the jokes. And it just reminds me, and you can actually, folks, y'all can actually find this to give you some insight to Sheila E.'s sense of humor. I forget, I think it was 98. I want to say 98, somewhere in around 1998. Prince and Sheila had a bet. She was rooting for the New Orleans Saints, and of course, Prince was rooting for the Minnesota Vikings. And after her Saints beat Prince, she made a video of herself dressed up looking like Prince, mocking Prince for the Vikings losing. So you guys should find that. I'll try to, while we're going to the next section, go into so I can show you, so you can know what its name, because I got it saved. But yeah, but that gets you to how they used to prank each other and tease each other. Like I said, that's the kind of stuff that I want to see, because it gets back to the whole notion that Prince was Jamie Starr. And a lot of what we know of Morris Day was that Prince Jamie Starr character, and that not only was he janking and teasing folks, clearly folks like Sheila felt like they had the leeway to do that to him as well. So that's it. I'll shut up. While y'all do that, I'm gonna see if I can find the
All right. Well, we will go to the next couple of songs here. I'll read this one. Tuesday, June 24th, 1985. My Sex. That's the song. My Sex, overdubs, possible mix. And then another song called Too Rough. Likely overdubs and mix. The Complex Studios, Los Angeles, California. Producers, Wendy and Lisa. Artist Prince. Engineer David Tickle. I'm going to read the quote, actually, Lisa Coleman. It seems like it was going well because he kept sending more songs and we were working nonstop. So we just assumed he was digging it. That's an interesting, so it almost gives you the implication. What is there some question that maybe he wasn't, but maybe we'll get into that. With Wendy and Lisa back in Los Angeles, work continued at the Complex Studios. Among the tasks supposedly done today was updating My Sex, a song Prince had previously recorded, possibly as early as 1983 during the 1999 tour. In addition, Too Rough, now likely called Rough, was reportedly worked on as well, although no details are available. Status: My Sex was intended for Jill Jones, potentially as the title track for her album. But it was ultimately removed from the collection and remained unreleased during Prince's lifetime. I can't remember off the top of my head what My Sex or Rough sounds like.
I don't remember hearing them at all, honestly.
Okay. That would have been an interesting album title. My Sex. And this is still, are these songs being considered for the first Jill Jones album, if I'm not mistaken? So we haven't gotten to her release yet.
That's possible.
But yeah. Any thoughts, Celie, on My Sex? Too Rough? Big Sexy?
Well, My Sex could be a juxtaposition or an early, and this is me speculating, obviously, an early shot at Mad Sex.
Oh, interesting. Mad Sex. Something was sexy.
It's something sexy. Oh yeah.
It's almost too obvious to put that, but love sexy.
I also think it really speaks to, as we're getting this picture, a lot of it we take it like Prince put Jill on the back burner, but I also think a lot of it was, I think that he was really having difficulty trying to decide what she was going to be as an artist. I think that, and because when you think about all the songs, give a song, take a song, change a song. And again, I'm projecting here as well. I want to be clear. I don't have any empirical evidence, but when you go through these changes and you go through all these songs, right? This speaks a little bit more than I'm just putting Jill on the back burner. I think that for Prince, Jill was kind of in this really interesting place that she could do a lot of kind of different things. So she becomes like the Swiss Army knife. And I think that part of it then becomes him not really being sure what he wants her to be. That's just me thinking about with all the different additions and changes. So
Yeah, I could see that thought point. Again, we don't know if that's for sure, but I could see the logic in that. I think it's other thing I was just going to add is it's interesting that now we're starting to see band members, associates given leeway or giving agency or whatever to work on his material while he's not there, which I don't know if we've ever seen that type of stuff from him before. It's interesting that he's got Wendy and Lisa doing their thing here, Sheila E over here doing stuff, and then like you said, Jill would come in sometimes, all the time, always doing things. I always wonder what was the temperature in the camp where you had different people doing different stuff. Like, oh, he's allowing you to do, well, yeah, he's got them over there. Well, she's over there doing her thing. I always would wonder, was there sort of a jockeying for the attention of Prince, and like how, and just that he was in that type of a space where he was like open to that. Like Lisa was saying, it seems like it was going well because he kept sending more songs, and we're working nonstop. So we just assumed he was digging it.
I'll say this, and it's been so long, so I'm going to say I don't remember the tone of it, but I do remember Brown Mark being very particular about the fact that he just was very clear that Prince tended to be more comfortable working with the females than with the males. And I think Brown was looking at it from for him having been there longer, right? So if you're looking at it from I kind of been there longer. So that's a really interesting thing, right? That how he gravitates, right? So Lisa and Wendy, Jill had always been working with him, right? So Jill goes back to 1999. Jill is all over 1999, right? And then Wendy and Lisa, and now Sheila E. What we were seeing, and up to that point, right? And that's moving from. We can't forget that Morris had been a primary contributor, right? I think that we forget that Morris is playing the drums on a lot of, and they are going out to clubs. They're listening to music. So Morris was a primary person, and then later on, Jesse begins contributing, right? So, so there was a point where the males were contributing, and then from that, it went from the males contributing to it being just the females contributing until you get to the other side, and when you get to the MPG, and then it's back to males. So maybe Prince is just going through phases. Maybe he's just looking for sounds. I'll end it on this. This also speaks to why I don't have a favorite Prince band and a favorite Prince musician, because I think one of the underrated aspects of Prince's genius is his ability to precisely choose the musicians who accurately manifest the musical ideas in his head. And so for me, every band was the perfect band for Prince at that time. So you will never hear me saying, I like this band over that band or that, because what I like most is that the Revolution fit a particular purpose. The band with no name fit a particular purpose. MPG, and then all of its adaptations. Third Eye Girl, they all fit a particular purpose. And I think we don't talk enough about Prince as band leader and his ability to choose the musicians to give us the best sound. That's it, I said.
Let's stay on that for a second. Do you think it's I'll throw this at you. Do you think it's Prince, like it doesn't matter what musician comes at him, he would be able to morph them into what he wants them to be? Or do you think he's morphing his sound to them?
Well, no. Here's what I think is happening. It's not that he's morphing his sound to him, but what we do know is this, particularly after Revolution, Prince had a pattern of watching musicians before he contacted them, right? Just about every musician after the Revolution that either wasn't chosen directly from Sheila's band, has a story of Prince had his eye on them. So I think that Prince is changing his sound in his head. And as he's changing his sound in his head, he's identifying the players that he think will, that's why immediately after the revolution, it's heavy Oakland-based players. Why? Because he's getting back into a heavy bass-driven funk. And who can give him that heavy bass-driven funk? Those Oakland-based players that's coming out of that Sly and Larry Graham. So I want to be clear. His sound, he's morphing his sound, and simultaneously he's identifying. It's like a coach. A coach has a certain type of plays they want to run. So you got to find the players, right? If you're talking about, say, for instance, the Chicago Bulls and the triangle.
I got a question for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, they need it. You have Michael Jordan, but you need the Scottie Pippens. You need the Ron Harpers. You need those players to complement Jordan in the triangle. And so that's what Prince is doing. He's looking for the musicians that can complement and actually play the things that he has in his head. That's it. I'll set up.
So I love this. So with that said, if Prince is the league, or if Prince is the team, who over the years, then Big Sex, I want you to jump in on this. You may have to think about it for a second. So who is the Michael Jordan? I'm saying Prince is the game itself. He's the league. So each team, there's the Revolution team, but who would have been the Jordan? You're taking Prince out of it.
Before Big Sex said, I'm going to tweak it this way.
Yeah.
Because I understand exactly what you're saying. Rather than me saying who would the Jordan have been, I would look at Prince more this way. I would look at Prince as more the Bill Russell, player coach. See, because because essentially Prince would be the Jordan, but I get your point. Jordan is one of the players. So I would change the analogy, say, look at Prince as the Bill Russell player coach, and then who were those other players? The Bob Cousy's, the Browns. What's my man who went on to coach for the Celtics later? The brother who won.
Casey Jones.
Who that?
Casey Jones.
Casey Jones and Sam Jones. So Sam and Casey Jones, right? So that's the way I would put it is Prince is the player coach, and he is then designing people around him to then execute the plays that he want to have. But go ahead, Big Sexy.
All right, Big Sexy, what you think?
Well, I think following up on the whole team and player aspect, a lot of the times too, when Prince has looked at people, he'll see someone, and I'm speculating again. He'll see someone and say, "Hey, I think they'll fit good in my band."
Yep.
And there have been times he's brought people in briefly, and they disappear.
Yep.
Because some people can't handle that offense. Not everybody can play the triangle.
Yeah.
Going back to football, not everybody can play the 85 Bears 46 defense. You have to have the right personnel to execute what you want to get done. And again, I haven't met any of these people who I'm going to mention, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, but I remember back during Emancipation, we had Cat Glover. Not Cat Glover, excuse me. What was her name? Cat Dyson.
Yep, Cat Dyson.
On guitar, and you blink and she was gone. And after that, I think at Musicology, there was a keyboardist, Rad. Remember her?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then poof, gone. So some people will get into the system and they can be gifted athletes or gifted players, but they don't fit the system. And that's to be understood. Now, as far as like MVPs or lead dogs in a certain team, I would say Revolution / Purple. No, I'll say Revolution. You got to say Wendy Lisa, especially Wendy, because she came out of nowhere theoretically and was featured pretty strongly on the Purple Rain tour and in the film as well. And after that, he dialed it back a bit. It's hard for me to say who really stood out because each one brought something different within the framework. You could say, a man. You could say Levi, and then you could say Mr. Hayes.
Right.
You know, because those cats were really integral. You could say, the big guy, Michael Bland, because he would bring Michael in, and Michael would go back to doing things with a solo sound. And Prince like, what, I need something. I need Michael. Let me give him a call. And he was very fortunate at that time to have such a deep roster of talented players.
Yep.
When he did the whole Today Show, he called up Sonny and some other people, just boom, whipped it together. The Saturday Night Live performance, same thing. He just made some calls, including Patrice Rushen, plugged her in, and off we go. So it really is, as a band leader, that's what you do. You bring in your players, or band leader / coach, you bring in your players. This is the game plan. Can you do it? Yeah, I can do it. And then you let them do what they do within the framework of what you're trying to do. I always felt, and this is my own hang up here, I always felt that Renato was too much of a hot dog for me. Because he played it a little too much, on his featured parts. But again, if that's what the boss wants, that's what the boss wants.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
That's what Prince wanted him to do.
Yeah, if he calling the plays for it, right?
Yeah, he called the play. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another part of it, where, I know I've done this at times. Man, why are they spotlighting this or that? But then I have to remember, why are they spotlighting? Because that's what Prince wanted to do. And nobody's not taking those solo without it being expressed by the coach and dictated and rehearsed that way, I'd imagine. So it was everything Prince wanted it to be. I would just say, I think the MVPs, obvious stuff, Wendy and Lisa, Eric Leeds, Levi, Morris, Dr. Fink, to some degree, I would say Andre Simone. I think Morris Day is an MVP, Sheila E. Some of these people that the impact, the longevity, always around, still doing it to this day. I think even in some ways, though they're not spotlighted as much as they would be, one of the Michael Jordans of the camp, and they go on to be their own, Jam and Lewis, to me, like, they are incredible, even if they didn't do a lot, but it's obvious the talent was there, and we know so now.
Well, wait,
so
hold on. With Jam and Lewis, I don't know if we could call them Michael Jordans at that time, because Prince.
Well, I'm not saying at that time they weren't. Well, actually, they probably were. You just didn't get a chance to play.
And Prince was, I'm going to use a Michael Dean phrase here, Prince was low-key hating, because they were doing their things on the outside,
right?
And they missed the play, and then Prince was like, Jimmy Jam, what doing your left hand? And they got jammed up for doing it, and then all of a sudden you look up, there's Alexander O'Neal, and again, there was no internet back then. Alexander O'Neal's, his thing comes out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and say it. They took the Human League, put them on a whole nother level. Human was a huge song, huge. Then they did Janet Jackson, and just that was
everybody they touched, they put them on it.
Yes.
So to follow the sports analogy, Jam and Lewis would be the players that played on this great team, but didn't get a lot of shine, and got traded and went to another team and blew up.
Yep.
Right. And so there are a lot of players who they were in one system, but there was just no room for them in that system. But those players always say that system was a great foundation for them, right? Yeah. So if you have organizations, right? You talk about organizations that are just winners, right? So a player may not make it in that organization. So Jam and Lewis benefit, right? Yeah, and they're very good. So we need to not leave Bonnie Boyer out of this conversation. Yes. So that Jam and Lewis goes on and they blow up. Because sometimes it's just, as they say, ain't enough ball to go around. Right? When you got a lot of great players on the team, some people just not gonna get enough shots up. And so whether pushed out or they leave on their own, they go and they become stars, but they do in some way. And I don't like to use this, so y'all give me another word other than indebted, because I don't like to say someone's indebted. But Jam and Lewis have always said that Prince taught them how to fly.
Oh, for sure.
I'll say
that's what makes them great, actually, aside from their talent. I would say Jam and Lewis now, they became the big three.
Yep, there we go. There we go.
They create their own league.
Exactly. That's
they have their own
That's
team
perfect.
players. They have their own people that they've made stars. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is, yeah, all of the talent coming out of this camp, we're just going to wrap this part up, is phenomenal. It happened, I guess, exactly the way it was supposed to happen.
Right.
But you have, I can't, I'm glad that we can look back and give everybody their flowers and really give them the recognition because of the great work that they did. And I will say this, I think a lot of the people in the camp, though some of them had great solo careers, I still don't think they really got the shine that their talent sort of would dictate. Like, to me, Wendy and Lisa, when they went solo, should have been a whole bigger thing. Like, maybe it was bigger in Europe, but to me, they're fantastic. Jesse Johnson should be even bigger than what it is because he's a phenomenal musician. Jam and Lewis, I think, are probably the ones who got everything they're supposed to get. Like, they took it to another level on a musical level and business. I think they had their business was tight even to this day, with Jimmy Jam and the things that he does in the industry and all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. Morris Day.
Right.
That's a testament that he's still to this day doing his thing out there, active, and everyone knows who he is. So I think he gets, Andre Simone within the Prince community, but he should be like, the stuff he did for other artists is phenomenal. He's
and I'm sorry, but the answer, Thrill Effect, hell no. I mean, hell no. And I'm with. Let me be clear. We happy to have you here, the Thrill Effect. We happy, but to answer that question, Prince was too busy making music to sabotage anybody's career. I think the fact that people think that Prince was sitting around thinking about other people that left is somebody who doesn't understand Prince's catalog, Prince's work ethic. So no, sabotage. No.
I wouldn't say sabotage. Did Prince talk ish and go in on some of the proteges? Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But I think there's a difference.
I don't know if he stopped him from work, stopped him from eating.
Yeah, there's a difference between people talking noise and talking ish and going to record companies and saying, don't put this out or don't do this. Now, there's actually no, don't confuse me.
I'm not going to lie and say the way Morris Day seemed to be treated during the premiere of the Purple Rain movie, that was that was kind of suspect. Like, I don't think he was invited to the premiere.
But didn't Morris already leave the camp by then?
He quit by then.
Well, again, you can leave the camp, but you're coming out with a motion picture, and he one of the stars,
right?
Arguably the breakout of the movie.
Yeah,
he not, that's a little funny style,
right?
We don't get on to that. So I'm not saying he's sabotaging, but there's a lot to be said there with the.
That's definitely petty. I think that we all will agree that Prince was Captain Petty.
He was petty tendergrass at times, yes.
Right, there we go. They're petty tendergrass. There we go.
There you go. All right. Okay. Let's get back to where we're at. Celie, do you mind reading this one about Teacher?
Sure. Wednesday, June 26, 1985, Teacher overdubs and mix. Overdub and mix. The Complex Studios, Los Angeles, California. Producers Wendy and Lisa. Artist, Prince, engineer David Thickel. Quote from Susan Rogers. I wonder why he rejected and didn't give it to someone else. It's not a bad little hook. Someone could have done something with it. So that's Susan Rogers. Wendy and Lisa, who worked on a track that Prince had originally recorded on June 5th, 1982, called Yeah, You Know, a song that makes light of the Scandinavian accents of many of the locals in Minnesota and the area of the country, as heard in the movie Fargo. For so many musicians, a song like Yeah, You Know might have been a major success on the pop charts, but Prince treated it as a throwaway track, possibly because it features a recurring riff that sounds like a version of Dirty Water, originally released in 1966 by the Standells. All right. The original 16-track song had been recorded in Prince's home studio, listed as Star Studios on the tape box, as if it had been overseen by his fictional producer, Jamie Starr, as a solo performance by Prince, who sang lead and 2 background tracks and played synths over a Lynn LM1 drum pattern. The song contains a quick musical reference to the Andy Griffith Show when he sings about watching television like a fool. During the session, Wendy and Lisa added background vocals and a few other elements to the track. Status. The original version of Yeah You Know, 3 minutes and 11 seconds, will be posthumously released on the 1999 Super Deluxe edition in 2019. The updated version still remains in the vault.
Oh man, I do have I have a word to the estate, what we normally call it. Just an idea you could do. I don't care if you did it digitally or you did it as a record store release one-off or something. It would be cool. It don't have to be no super deluxe, but just maybe a 2 vinyl or something. The Jamie Starr series or the Jamie Starr sessions or just something. It's a shout to the character Jamie Starr, all of the songs that he touched or did. I don't care if it's Prince, Time, whoever, unreleased. I just think something that encompasses that whole time period, all that funky stuff, would be dope. I could, the cover, it would be a great cover. That picture with Prince and Morris at the console, laughing or whatever, or if there are other shots from that time, that would be dope. And the other thought is, I don't know if there's enough songs, but you could probably do a Christopher Tracy or Alexander Nevermind, or maybe you just did one. It was just all of the pseudonym names of the characters.
Call it Alter Ego, yeah.
Yeah, all of them, the ones we don't even know about. Camille, for that matter. You could throw all of those types of songs, like all of the other personalities that Prince would do to give different vibes. So
isn't the Camille album supposed to be coming out? I heard about that.
Yeah, no, some rocker, I can't remember his name, was supposed to be releasing the
Jack White or something?
Jack White. Yeah.
It ain't coming.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. How do y'all feel about Yeah You Know as a little ditty?
I've
never heard it.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's bouncy when it's on. Again, I listen to things kind of in whole within the context of albums, so I have it on whatever playlist I have it on. But I'm kind of like that when to hear Susan Rogers talk about. I never really thought about it in that way. If it could have been a nice little pop ditty for somebody else, right? I thought that would have been really interesting. I'm trying to roll in my mind, right, the people to whom he was giving songs at the time, right? Who would have been a likely person to have that kind of song that it would have performed well on the charts? Would have been interesting.
And this would have been back in the 80, I guess 85.
Yeah, 85. Yeah.
I could see it working for somebody for sure.
Right.
Definitely. But I could say that for a lot of his songs. But that's interesting to think about. We're going to keep it moving. Next up, we have, let me bring that on. So Carousel, I'll read this one here. Thursday, June 27th, 1985, Carousel, tracking and overdubs, the Complex Studios, Los Angeles, producers Wendy and Lisa, artist Prince, engineer David Tickle. Another quote from Lisa, a lot of songs were test studies to hear how something sounds. In addition to embellishing Prince's music, Wendy and Lisa were also creating their own music to submit to Prince. During today's session, they composed an instrumental they called Carousel. Wendy and I wrote that at the Complex, but just the music. And then Prince heard it and loved it. Their version of the song contains what sounds like a calliope, as well as sound effects of children in a merry-go-round, similar to those used on Prince's unreleased instrumental version of Paisley Park, which is fire, from 1984. All of these blended together to create a jubilant wall of sound that places the listener on a carousel. Status. Prince enjoyed the 5-minute carousel and would eventually add lyrics and retitle it Power Fantastic. Mm. When it was re-recorded in March of 1986, Power Fantastic was released on Prince's 1993 The B-Sides collection, but all versions of Carousel remain unreleased during Prince's lifetime. Another note here. Well, I'm going to stop there for a second. Power Fantastic. That has got to be, at least in my opinion, one of his beautiful songs, like just the purity of it, the musicianship of the band, his voice. We don't hear, at least I didn't learn about this until way later, but then when you hear about how they recorded the song, half the band's in one part of the house, he's in another, and it's, a live recording of it. Fantastic. I can't, it's one of those songs that I can't imagine why you wouldn't release that back then, as opposed to it was way later that finally gets into our ears. But I'm curious, Big Sexy, what do you think about this carousel and then sort of becoming Power Fantastic?
Well, a lot of times things will morph into different things. A good example is I just forgot the name of the song. Damn it! But there are so many times where he's started off with an idea, and it ends up a different deal with a different name and and the whole, like, the bare bones are still the same, but he's changed the flesh around it. And again, I'm not a songwriter, but I understand a lot of songwriters have done that, so that's not really unusual to me.
Okay.
I see you, Dash. What's up, man?
Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Seeley?
Yeah, same. And I'm glad Brother Dash put that in about the one with him cueing in the band. Once we heard it on the hits and the B-sides, it was a song that the only real notion I had, other than it was a very beautiful song, is I thought it could have worked on Parade. It was in that. So I was like, it's strange that this doesn't make some sort of Parade appearance. That was really the only thing, other than thinking it was a very, very, very beautiful. It is a very, very beautiful song. Was the one just wondered about the thought process of not why it didn't make the Parade cut.
Yeah, even as a B-side, like that would have been a ridiculous B-side. Like
exactly.
Well, I wonder if it's because I'm thinking in the Petty Prince mind, do we have to share some sort of writing credit with them, or I don't know if that was a concern. I know it seems like a lot of the stuff that they end up doing doesn't come out or is stripped off of his songs later,
right,
when they leave. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that might have been a reason where he's like,
Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys this. You mentioned the phrase B-side.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back in the Wayback Machine, I was never really aware of a B-side until I saw, what was the song on the time? Tricky. And the other one I think was called Grace.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, so, and then he would do these things with Erotic City, with 17 Days. And it's like, Irresistible Bitch.
What'd you call?
I don't understand. I mean, do I? No, sorry. What's the premise behind that? I know the Beatles did, double A sides, but this was new to me, where you have a song that's not on the album, on a single though, on the B side. Didn't anybody know why he started doing that, or because I don't remember seeing it done anywhere else.
Yeah, because that's you're right, because even when you think about I mean that's what we're saying. So How Dumb You'll Call Me was also in the same phrase of Tricky and Grace. So those are all coming out right about the same time. I just think, and I think Sonic 22 is fine, right? Flexing. And I think about, and I don't know how much of impact this had, because it's really different than what the question that you're asking, right? I'm thinking about the Stevie Wonder songs in the Key of Life, it's a double album.
With?
And then along with the double album, there's a 45 that has 4 more songs.
Yep.
Wow.
So I wonder how much that would have. I do know that Prince was a really big fan of that Songs in the Key of Life album. You know, Stevie Wonder in general, but particularly that Songs in the Key of Life, and so that 45. But I would probably agree with Sanique and others in the chat that 2 things: flexing, but also a cool and slick way just to get out more music. Because I'm going to always say this. I think that putting Erotic City on the back of Let's Go Crazy may have been the greatest music lesson anybody has ever taught. And I call it the greatest music lesson that anybody's ever taught because on one side is Little Richard and on the other side is Parliament Funkadelic. And if you think about that, so Let's Go Crazy, and a lot of people don't understand. Let's Go Crazy is not Jimi Hendrix. Prince does not sound like Jimi Hendrix until Temptation on Around the World in a Day. There's no other evidence of Prince sounding like Temptation on record before you get to Temptation and Around the World in a Day. So Let's Go Crazy is in the vein of 4-bar blues sped up to create rock and roll. So you got Little Richard on one side, you got Parliament Funkadelic on the other side, and Prince basically planting his flag as being, Let's Go Crazy is not rockabilly. I want to be really clear. Let's Go Crazy is not rockabilly. Let's Go Crazy is Little Richard. You have to understand. So Let's Go Crazy. And I think a lot of times when we talk rockabilly, we throw certain songs in. You have to understand that rockabilly is a specific music that happens after Little Richard, when Elvis is blending what Little Richard is doing to bluegrass. That's what rockabilly is. Rockabilly is Elvis blending bluegrass to what Little Richard is doing. So Let's Go Crazy has no bluegrass to it. Let's Go Crazy is a strict Little Richard, Chuck Berry, 4 on the floor rock song. So that's the difference. I would say Todd Star Video. I would only say we hear it differently because I've heard more rock speed metal in Bambi. I think Prince was ahead of the curve in rock speed metal than that. So, but I'll just, again, Ike was blues and swing. Ike was not rockabilly. Let's be clear. Let's not. I mean, that Ike Turner, my homeboy, Clarksville, Mississippi. We getting into my wheelhouse when we talking about blues. Ike Turner was not rockabilly.
So Neil says, I think Let's Go Crazy was a version of Jay Giles' band Freeze Frame, which I hated that song because they had some crossover on Black Radio, and they were also at that Rolling Stone show that he got booed on. Even the synths are similar. I didn't think about Jay Giles' band, but now that you say that, what was the other song they had? Centerfold?
Yeah, Centerfold. That whole album, Centerfold. They had a song on there called Flamethrower.
I did like Flamethrower.
Yeah,
I did like Flamethrower.
I love that whole. I love that whole Jay Giles. And by the way, purist Jay Giles fans thought that Jay Giles band was selling out with that album.
Oh yeah.
Purist Jay Giles bands hates that album because they saw it as a sellout to get mad radio play, which is really interesting.
Well, I would say I didn't know nothing about them until I saw those songs on MTV, and I fell in love with them. Those are the only Jay Giles songs I know, and I used to love. I can see in my mind that dude jumping around. Now, looking at it, I can see he was kind of on his Mick Jagger a little bit in the video.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
But that was my first time even seeing that type of imagery, right? So
but brother, that's the problem, and Big Sexy and Brother Dash can tone in. Before that album, they were a rock and soul. They were like an Otis Redding, right? They were doing like Land of 1,000 Dances kinds of stuff. And so they were seen by their hardcore base as you kind of selling out this rock and soul kind of thing for this kind of synth pop driven kind of situation. But again, Flamethrower, like that whole album to me, I love that album, but I understood why a lot of their fans were pissed off about them going that way. But I love that album. Anyway, I'll shut up.
And just to go back, we're talking about the B-sides and, we're sort of the progression of how they were going. What was the first B-side? Was it?
I think it's How Come You Don't. I think it's, if it's not How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, it's either How Come You Don't Call Me No More, it's Irresistible Bitch.
Well, where's the Horny Toad? I thought, isn't that
Horny Toad? That wasn't that later on?
Maybe
that's a good question where Horny Toad falls.
I can't remember what song it came out with now that I'm saying it. But you could almost as like those, there weren't throwaway songs, but I don't think those songs prior to.
Oh, you know what? Thank you, Love Sexy 71.
Stop messing
about. Stop messing about. Thank you. Gotta stop messing about. I always forget about that being the first. There we go. Thank you, Love Sexy 71.
Yes,
gotta
absolutely.
Stop messing about. Yes.
My bad. That's what I was thinking of. But it seems until we get to Erotic City, that's where the B-side, I think, changes and becomes, these are the dominant. These songs could possibly blow whatever else is going on. And then they become like, they're not throwaway at all. They're like, okay, la la la, he, girl, Scarlet put, then they become something. It's like, oh, he's dropping real. What's the rain comes down.
17 days.
17 days. He's dropping heat. Then it becomes something else. Where it's like, oh, do you really know? You've been buying my stuff. Here, I'm gonna give you a treat. It was like a treat, and some of those treats were damn near full meals. A little bit, where you're like, oh shit. But anyway,
I think those treats, and I've said this many times, I think the treats were for us, because I go back to the Third Eye Girl show, and they go into, oh geez, She's Always in My Hair, and so, but somebody walks up to me, what song is this?
Hilarious. Is that how you get it?
I don't know this one. You barbarian.
And just as we are talking about the B-sides, giving respect to Gotta Stop.
Interesting.
What's really interesting is, and I just said that when I thought about it, Stephanie Mills may also be partly responsible for drawing people's attention to the B-sides, because she had a slight little hit with How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore way before.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't heard the Stephanie Mills, How Come, and I'm because I hate to say this and that and that. Let me just put it this way. How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, Stephanie Mills version retains more of the gospel soul version than Alicia Keys. But I remember, so Stephanie Mills is How Come You Don't Call Me No More got mad R&B play. And it is that Stephanie Mills version was the one that people who were not like the Prince heads really started getting people like, oh, this dude is releasing songs that's not on the album. And I don't think that Stephanie Mills covering that song, she's given a lot of credit for kind of opening a window to Prince's legacy in a way that a lot of people don't understand. Because I didn't know a lot of people checking, like those of us who was getting it, but there weren't a lot of people outside of the Prince hardcore fans checking for B-sides before Stephanie Mills dropped. And I want to tell you, it's a fire version.
Interesting.
Of that song. Anyway,
didn't Alicia do something on this? Okay.
Yeah, and that's why whenever people talk about the Alicia Keys, which by the way, I have a problem with the Alicia Keys version. I like the Alicia Keys version. What you can see with the Alicia Keys version is her version is as influenced by Prince's live version than by the record. If you listen to Alicia's version, it's really it's really influenced by the way Prince would pray with the song. I'm gonna go stand over here till you make up your mind, doing all these things. That's where you see Alicia's version, where Stephanie's version is really faithful and true, not just to the piano, but I want to say this, to the foot pedals on the piano. right? Stephanie Mills is giving you that gospel foot pedal version. And yes, Brother Barnett and Sister Kim, that 92 version where Stephanie Mills does the tribute to Prince when Prince gets the Soul Train Award. That's what Stephanie really brings it home. Yeah, that's it. I'll say that.
Is that the one where Troy Bear was out there with her?
Yep.
Lord. Prince, man. Salute. Real quick, let's read this last little part from this day here. Prince returned home from Paris with a number of newly inspired song ideas. The man would come home from the airport. The man would come from the airport to the studio, details Rogers. You'd get a call that said he's on his way. Robbie Pastor, hilarious. Robbie Pastor would take his luggage to his house, and Prince would just come straight to the studio or warehouse. He worked pretty damn consistently. That was who he was. And you could imagine the feverish brain on an airplane. He's going to be thinking of songs. He was obviously inspired by his time in France, as the next batch of songs he recorded were published as Paris songs, a nod to his time in the City of Lights. Real quick, Robbie Pastor, I sort of chuckled on that. When I went to Minneapolis a few years ago, it was for a PRM alumni event that they had. And when I was at the airport, it was like, somebody's going to come pick you up, Mike, and take you to the hotel. And it was Robbie Pastor. That's why I remember his name. Like he was still picking people up. I think that's what he does. He has a business or something too. But yeah, I remember he was like, man, let me tell you some stories about Prince. And he was telling me how he would drive Prince back in the day, all that stuff. So salute to Robbie. All right, we got one more day here, Friday, June 28th.
And also salute to the PRM Alumni Association.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't shout them out enough.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
So Jealous Girl rehearsal, Washington Avenue Warehouse, India. Am I saying it right? India, Minnesota?
Edina.
My bad. Edina. Now that Prince was back in Minneapolis, it appears that the entire revolution gathered at the warehouse, where he spent the next day teaching them Jealous Girl. It is unknown why, as the song was never released or played live by Prince. It is possible that the song was on his mind, as he recently offered it to the Bangles, although they chose not to record it. With Prince's decision not to tour behind Around the World in a Day, he needed to promote it somehow, so he elected to allow Rolling Stone to interview him for a cover article. Neil Carlin flew to Minneapolis and spent several days, including a birthday party for Prince's father, speaking to Prince for his first major interview in years. Considering his shyness and lack of interest in opening up with reporters, Prince was uncharacteristically content with the results, according to Susanna Melville. He came back and said, "That's the best interview I've ever done." And I would implore you to go find that Rolling Stone interview and take a look at that. I would also, if we did a review on this book, but Neil's book, I would implore you to go listen to the audio book. You can actually hear Prince talk on this in the audio book. It is from recordings. I don't know if they were secretly done. I'm not going to get into that, but they are there, and it is interesting to say the least. So there you go. Any other thoughts from you guys on this stuff?
Couple of things, which is kind of just a throwaway line in this paragraph, but I've been recently thinking about this as I'm in my listening to the tours stage of Prince. I hate being an armchair quarterback, and we all know hindsight is 2020. I'll just say it. Because again, hindsight is 2020, so we can all. I get he's not touring for Around the World in a Day because he's really, he's moving on to a parade and the movie and all of that. It just made me think about the what if Prince tours America with both Sign of the Times and Diamonds and Pearls. I just when you think
Wait,
about
say it again. If he tours with
Prince toured America to promote Sign of the Times and Diamonds and Pearls, I wonder where the situation is. I just wonder what but that just made me think about, he wasn't going to tour, and clearly wasn't going to tour for Around the World Today because he already had a plan. He's getting ready to do the movie. He's working on that. So that's that. But you think about, I don't like to talk. I know a lot of fans like to talk about missed opportunities. I'm not one of those people who harper on missed opportunities or bad decisions. But I will say that listening to the tours, it just made me think about, because I want to get back to, I do want us to talk about the interview, the Rolling Stone interview, because I think there's a lot that we all can talk about that. But I just found myself thinking about what impact, if any, it would have had on Prince in real time and his legacy had he toured Sign of the Times. Because I still contend, even with Glam Slam 92, Sign of the Times, to me, probably one of the greatest concert films. And I'm putting in the U2 Sign of the Times concert. I'm putting in what's my folks who did the Talking Heads. Talking Heads tends to be considered one of the great concerts. And I'm putting all of them in. I don't do GOATs, so I'm not going to. But I just think that of all of those, Sign of the Times, that concert film gives me something musically that those others don't. And I just wonder, had people saw that to Alive and then saw the Diamonds and Pearls to Alive in America, what would have been the real-time impact on the album sales? Because remember, If I Was Your Girlfriend killed the Sign of the Times album sales. Sign of the Times album sales were moving upward. And when he released If I Was Your Girlfriend, and the record company begged him not to because they were like, people ain't that smart, Prince. And I remember If I Was Your Girlfriend, because I remember dudes like, man, what's up with your boy? Because they didn't get that If I Was Your Girlfriend is a song by a heterosexual male talking to his girlfriend about we need to be each other's best friend instead of your girlfriends being your best friend and my homeboys being my best friend. It's a song about we need to stop communicating as gender and start communicating as souls. But the average person, and let's be clear, the average dude wasn't thinking that deeply, and they thought that If I Was Your Girlfriend was Prince coming out of the closet. And yes, Sanique, either TLC didn't get it or they were afraid to get it. So I'm with you. I always hated their cover because I thought it added fuel to the fire of people not getting it. So thank you, Sanique22, for putting that in the chat. So anyway, I'll share to let y'all think about that. But I do want to hear y'all's thoughts on the interview because I think that's really the main thing. I'll share. Y'all go ahead.
Well, no, you asked a great question about the tours. Big Sexy, I want to allow you to speak on it.
Yeah, a couple real quick. When you mentioned the U2 film, are you talking about Rattle and Hum, that one?
Yep.
You have that, you have Stop Making Sense. And the thing is, and I will die on this hill, had Prince supported Sign of the Times domestically, it would have got Album of the Year.
Yep.
Hands down. Down. But he wasn't supporting it. So if he's not going to support it, how can people who are voting say, well, shit, he ain't supported. Why should we give a shit?
Exactly.
So that was the big mistake to me. Also, the big mistake, I Was a Girlfriend. No, they weren't ready for that. The next single should have been Housequake.
Yeah.
That screamed to be a single.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been. And that would have carried that momentum on into a tour domestically. And they would have set some records. It would have been off the chain.
Yeah.
But he chose to go left for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was going to say, I think if he would have toured, as I really think about it, Because I think, well, did it change when he did Love Sexy here? Would it have been? I don't think that the impact of the Love Sexy tour, as much as it impacted me, 'cause I was a big fan. I don't know how. I don't know if it would have been any different if he had not done that tour in America or not. To be quite honest, I don't think that album. I don't think the tours were the issue. I think they definitely add to it, but I would go back to, like you said, the singles. I think if Sign of the Times, the song itself, which is fantastic single, if he would have had a video for that,
that too, that part
that
too,
came out, that would have changed everything.
Can I ask you a question? And this is for both of y'all. The first time you saw the Sign of the Times video, did you have the same thought as mine? Because the first thought I had when I saw that video was, somebody got a new computer and want to show it off.
Well, I didn't think that at the time, no. And I didn't see the video till later either.
Okay.
So.
I saw the video. You mean the lyric video on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm like, the fuck is this?
Awful video.
Yeah, it was so disappointing to me.
Yes.
People don't want to say that, but
Yes.
I was extremely disappointed.
I was let down. Yes.
I was rocking that record, and I could not wait to see Prince because we hadn't seen him for a while. So I was disappointed. I was like, why is this not being played on rotation on MTV? Because at that time, MTV was everything. If your video wasn't on MTV, you wasn't in the game, just wasn't in the game.
Right.
And for somebody as big as him, it didn't make sense. Like, I can get why he's doing, for better or worse, he's on his I'm an artist.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
So I get that.
Right.
But I guess the other side is that what a sacrifice is in a consumer market, you're not going to sell.
Exactly.
You can't be mad at that because you want to do this. But I think part of the, again, was the singles and the videos. You got the Look At It video and you got the Look went to number one. And I didn't even like that.
Exactly.
Well, it's like you said, though.
Well, real quick, just to say what you said. If Housequake would have came out as a proper single, it was released as a single, right? We got 7 minutes Mo Quake on the other side, and it was cassette single. I bought that, jammed it. If there had been a video, even if he just took it from the movie and that debuted on MTV, I think he would have been in a different space at that time because it would have shown all of the, his R&B early funk people. Yo, he's back like a mother, and we'd have saw all the it would have been, we'd have blew our mind the same way when I saw that movie and they perform it on there and it blew our minds. Like, what the hell? This is like, how did he do? So I just think he didn't show the proper video with these songs. If I was your girlfriend, Black Radio was playing that. That's how, it was on the radio. Now, if it would have had a video for that, again, it was on BET, MTV, it'd have been all over. Damned if we would have understood what he was talking about. The song was dope as hell.
Yeah,
and we would have just played it off the rip because it was genius. Go ahead.
It was dope, but I can tell you there was a lot of heterosexual backlash to that song.
But they said that about Prince anyway.
Right.
Especially in our community. That wasn't nothing new. We said that before that song came out.
Right.
But we always said, yo, that's jamming.
Right.
Damn that. Put the needle down. Yeah. We don't have that's why I didn't really I to be honest, when the song came out, I didn't know what it was about. Didn't think nothing about it. I was just so stuck on the way his voice sounded and I was like, God damn, like this is like, oh, he on this. So to me, it was just the missed opportunity of videos and properly giving these songs to the people,
right? Instead
of just sort of throwing them out there. But
and I do want y'all to, because I do want us to talk about the interview, but I do want to address a couple of things that I saw. So I want to be clear. What I said about TLC's version is not shade to TLC as artists, right? I think they're wonderful artists. My point is,
and salute to Dallas Austin.
Right. My point is, Prince's version, If I Was Your Girlfriend, is a song. So let me make it clear. There is no Beyonce's If I Were a Boy without Prince's If I Was Your Girlfriend. You have to understand that If I Was Your Boy is a direct lineage to If I Was Your Girlfriend. Okay? So it's a song about, and I want to address that too. It's a song of a male talking to a female about how we can improve our relationship if we talk to each other instead of talking to our friends, right? When TLC is singing If I Was Your Girlfriend, right? They are losing the lyrical nuance and metaphoric meaning of the song. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that for them to sing the lyrics straight means that they're not interested in the metaphoric. That's all I'm saying. Yes, Ezekiel, yes, they did a great job on Get It Up. I'm simply saying their version of If I Was Your Girlfriend misses the metaphoric meaning of Prince's song. And my question has always been, if I ever got to meet them, did y'all know the metaphoric meaning and didn't want to do that? Right? Yes, Prince cleared it, but it still misses the metaphoric meaning. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think they, I won't say they didn't care because I don't know them.
Right.
But I think the song was coming from the basis. Now that you know Dallas Austin is a deep Prince fan, I think it just came from the fact that he loves some Prince and they love the song. I don't think they, and then it was going to be just for a movie soundtrack anyways.
Yeah.
I don't think they were thinking on a deeper level, but I don't think they were trying to shade it at all. They were just, we love this song. You know what I mean?
Right. And again, but so I'm not shading them as artists. I'm just simply saying, for someone who's a lyric person like me and someone who understands the depth of Prince's lyrical genius, I was disappointed that I was disappointed that TLC, a group that I respected, didn't continue the metaphorical depth. That's it. That's the only point that I was making. And to add to the point, Black Radio made a door hit. Black Radio decided this the song, right? The Black Radio didn't need any. Black Radio decided we gonna play a door every night, and it's gonna become the classic. So that's where,
I would say that people probably decided that, and they just realized these motherfuckers is calling in to hear this.
Okay,
you gotta give them what they want.
Yeah,
you know
I can agree with that.
That's one of them songs that we gonna jam that regardless if it's played on the radio. I mean, we have a lot of those types of songs throughout our, the culture. So I just think that was one of them ones. It didn't need to be on. It really didn't need to be a single. It was just an organic hit to the people. But anyway,
hold on. You mentioned MTV's impact.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, with Sign of the Times, Prince showed up at the MTV Awards that year and opened the show with Sign of the Times and Playing the Sunshine. He should have followed. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
He did. Yeah, he actually opened the award show.
And he blew it up too.
Yep, yeah. It's a great performance.
And if he had taken that momentum,
and I will say real quick, I was low key hating that he didn't do Housequake after. I was like, what is this playing? So playing Sunshine, they stop playing. But go ahead.
If he had taken that momentum and that exposure and built on that with a domestic tour, boom. And that would have led into better sales on the tour for Lovesexy.
Yep.
So he really missed the train on that one.
Right. And to put a bow on it, because I do want to hear you guys talk about this, the interview, to put a bow on it. Remember Prince's words when Sign of the Times doesn't win any awards. Remember, Sign of the Times lost that one award show to U2, and it lost at another award show to Luther Vandross. Mm-hmm. And which is ironic because we do know that Prince was listening to a lot of Luther Vandross when he wrote Adore. So that's an interesting. But what Prince said, remember what his point? His point was, I want to get the quote right. Basically, he says to U2, I can play everything you can play, but you can't play Housequake.
Nope.
Right.
But I agree. So I agree that in 2 award shows, Lovesexy lost to what I would say were lesser musical albums. But this is the point. If you don't promote it,
no one's going to know.
No one's going to know. And I think that for a lot of people, they just didn't know on the front end in real time what a fantastically wonderful album Sign of the Times was. I'll shut up.
Yeah. And I think, too, it was business. I don't think it was about the quality of the music at the end of the day. You know, in terms of where his career was at that time, he had already been the golden child of the game. And now here comes somebody else, you know, and everything that has happened with his career since he won big with Purple Rain and all that. And the way he was operating, there was no way he was going to win an album of anything. Not the way his career, not the way he was operating with his career, you know, not playing the game.
Right.
And all that. There's no way you're going to beat U2 or even Michael.
Right.
Just because they just embedded in the game.
Right.
Everybody wins if they win. Everybody don't win if he wins.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so why would they?
Exactly. What is it? I think the whole the narrative is the record industry was in a slump and Thriller saved the record industry. Like Thriller gave the whole record industry a bump. Right. So people will talk about that. But I do want to hear you guys talk about the interview, just what you remember about the Rolling Stone interview and, you know, how it impacted and whatever.
Big Sex, if you want to start.
I remember the cover being the screen swiped from the Raspberry Beret video.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a direct quote: "Mark Brown is the best bass player I have ever heard, period."
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was pretty heavy stance there. That's all I remember from off the top of my head, and I've read it 1,000 times because I remember there was that Rolling Stone cover, and there was the one on the 1999 tour with him and Valley on the Princess Hot Rock. You know, and that one he didn't really talk that much. This one, was straight up verbatim, you know, language. In fact, I'm going to pull a C. Lee. I'm going to pull it up and take a look.
He was chatting. Go ahead, Brother Dean.
You know, the things I remember going to Tower Records, catching the bus to Tower Records, buying that issue. I read it on the bus ride back home, and I just was like, it was one of the first times getting something in depth from him, or an interview that was in depth. I didn't read or buy the previous one with Vanity on the cover because I wasn't into Prince at that time. But I was just kind of like, wow, I was learning about him, you know, getting into his world, because there wasn't books or anything like that I remember, at least that I had ever bought. So I was just amazed by all of it. And when I just remember seeing the song titles and hearing about the family, and I was just kind of like, God, I can't wait to hear that. Like, they sounded so fantastic to me. He's got a new song he's debuted. I was like, I can't wait to hear this song. Don't they mention old friends for sale in the article?
I think so.
And I was just like, God, I gotta hear that, the way he's describing this. I just couldn't wait. And it was one of those things where Prince became, aside from the music, it became a mystery to me. You know, it's like every little nugget was like, I so appreciated hearing something about what was going on with him. And that's what I remember about it myself.
I will say, before Big Sexy gets to the meat of it, what I remember most is, to this day, all these years later, it has my favorite Prince quote. He said that when my friends were playing, he said everybody knew what was going on back then. When my friends were playing, I was working. When they were sleeping, I was jamming. Every morning they awoke, I had a new groove. 15-year-old me. When 15-year-old me read that, it opened up my mind. And it oddly, my father liked Prince, my mother didn't. But it was funny that in that moment, everything that my parents had been trying to teach me about work ethic. Like, you know, whatever you want, you got to go get it. Like, my parents were like, you lollygag and you this, you that. To hear Prince saying, I'll say it again, he said that when my friends, everybody knew what was going on back then. When my friends was playing, I was working. When they were sleeping, I was jamming. Every morning they woke up, I had a new groove. I said, I need to get off my ass at 15 and be about whatever I'm going to be about. So there are a lot of other nuggets in that. interview, but that is the line for me that is like the most Prince line to me. And it has been the thing that's kind of been my North Star of the kind of creative and person I want to be. And then I'll just echo everything you said, that it really kind of just enhanced the mystery around Prince and made him kind of this mystical, right, magical kind of person. I'll shut up. Go ahead, Big Sex.
You know, I'm looking at this interview now, and honestly, I didn't recall it being so dense.
Yep, it's long.
There's a lot in here.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to, let me come back to you guys. Hey, they were. I don't want to give it short shrift, but I believe, as please correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't this interview end with the writer saying Prince is on his bicycle or he's in the car, and if he turns left, he can go home. And if he turns right, he can go back to the club and to the nightlife. I think he turned right and went back to the nightlife. I think. In fact, when we wrap up, I'm going to read it again because there is a lot going on in it.
Big Sexy, have you read the Neil book?
You know what? when it was brought up earlier, I'm like, I got to get that book. Apparently, I have it somewhere in the Batcave, so I'll have to read it this week.
I only say that because as much as I loved that interview back then, to hear what Neil's almost gives you another behind the scenes view of that interview and everything that was going on. It just is interesting, however you want to take it, you know, the way he's sort of perceiving Prince. And again, you get to hear Prince speaking on some of the things you see in the interview and sort of more stuff that was going on between Prince and his father. That's, I don't think is in the interview. This is just interesting. It calls into question why they choose to include some things in pieces like this and why they don't. You get a little insight into Rolling Stone and the editor sort of intentions behind some of this stuff as well. So it's just it's very interesting. I'm not going to put a spin one way or the other, but when I reviewed the book, I will say that I had a lot to say about the book and Neil. Some of it I still stand by, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Neil's at. He seems to have come and gone, but it's just a very interesting sort of. If I would have known back then what was really going on in the sphere of that article, I don't know how that would have sat with me in terms of how I see Prince. And so maybe it's a good thing we saw it in it was a curated take on Prince in that interview, as opposed to what was really going on, right?
Well, someone said in the comments earlier that Neil was low-key hating in that book as it went on in real time. So I'm really curious to see what he had to say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, you must read the interview. I think it's one of those, just even to put things in context of the way as fans saw Prince at that time, what we were able to learn about him in those carefully sort of orchestrated interviews.
Quick question: Is the boss in the chat?
Uh-oh.
Who?
Is the boss in the chat?
Now you're gonna get it.
Read it. I don't know.
I thought I saw the boss in the chat.
I saw somebody make reference to her. Is she in here?
Really?
Go back to 1236.
Uh-oh. There she is.
In the chat. Go back to
now you're gonna get it.
Where you see that?
1236.
1236.
Oh yes. It was Michael's fault. Michael did it.
I take it all. I don't see her posts.
Polysolid. Isn't that the boss?
That's the boss.
I wonder if it's something funny where it's not showing to me because of.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it at all.
It's actually right above you.
No. I'm sorry. That was me. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if either one of us, if she types something in the chat or if I chat, it's going to show it came from both of us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
All right. The ball's here.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we're kind of ready to wrap things up as well.
So, okay, let me do this, Brother Dean. Give us your general notion about, because I've heard different people talk about Neil's book. I've read at it, but I haven't. What's your general notion or feeling about Carlin's book? Because I will say this, Carlin and Bream, right? Carlin and Bream, and then what's the brother who wrote a lot of early articles on Prince? Older brother, I can't.
Nelson George.
No, not Nelson George. You can add him, but another brother who wrote for kind of like the kind of like the rock and soul kind of.
Not Teray.
No, not him. No, not Stephen Ivory. Thank you. So Stephen Ivory, Bream, and Neil Carlin, and I'll throw in Nelson George, even though I got some issues with Nelson George. You know, what did you think about for you? What did you think about the Carlin book overall?
I don't want to contradict what I said in the reviews. Y'all can go find that. But I had an issue with the inclusion of the Prince tapes at the time. I don't remember. I vaguely remember the book. I guess my takeaway from it is I thought if he was supposed to be Prince's friend is the way he was sort of presenting himself, I was questioning why you would even put the book out in the manner that he did. It seemed to come off if it was some shade to Prince. It seemed to be like, again, I guess I said in the same sense, if it was Big Sexy, like that's my man. Like I've been working with Big Sexy 10 plus more years than that. You know, we offline and on. And if he came out with a book about me and he had audio that me and him had, he was recording my conversations back in the day. I didn't know that. And he put them on a book, that would be on some bullshit.
Yeah, that ain't cool.
That's what I was coming from, that angle. Like that's not how your man's supposed to operate. You know what I'm saying? Putting something out there for money like that, where it's kind of going behind, you know, backdooring a nigga.
Right.
Why you did. That's some wild stuff. Like I don't know who, but we don't do that kind of stuff, but that's what they do.
Right.
So that's cool. Kind of how, that's what my take on the book was.
Yeah, I'll just say that I tend to give credence to people who were talking and writing before Prince died, as opposed to people who had a lot of stuff to say after he died. And I just leave it there. Because if you got a lot to say, you should have been man or woman enough to say it before he died, as opposed to after he died. So that's all I'll say. So I'll wrap that up on that.
And they were obvious cash grabs. You know, that's all it was.
Yeah.
You know, he's no longer here. Let me go ahead and put out my 2 cents, and I can say it without any fear of blowback or being corrected or being set straight. It was bullshit. But again, I've read the book, so I'll read it probably this afternoon and see what's going on, and go from there.
Right.
Yeah, but I do think it's worth checking out, only to hear, like I said, you get to hear Prince speaking. You're not going to hear that anywhere else. Yeah, I can call into question how those tapes would occurred, but then at the same point, if I'm listening to bootlegs, then I can't say too much because
exactly.
Keep it 100. So, all right. Any last things? I think we pretty much covered everything we need to get into.
I have one thing too, guys. When we stop recording, let's stay on the line. I need to talk to you about something.
All right.
Okay. And as always, I want to give a big shout out to the chat, especially today with Prof Duff not being here. As brother Turnbull always says, the chat is the start. So we always want to appreciate the chat because one, y'all fact check, y'all keep us on y'all toes, and as people like Brother Saniq have shown, remember I say this all the time. We can either let people distort Prince's legacy, or we could do the work to make sure that legacy isn't distorted. So people like Brother Saniq and so many other people out there doing that good work, and Brother Dean, Big Sexy, all of the scholars. I'm glad Brother Dash was in the chat. So just to the chat, thank y'all as always, man, for doing that. And
did I skip Jealous Girl?
Now we talked about it.
No.
Now we talked about the rehearsal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about the rehearsal. And then we talked about a little bit about it'd been interesting who that could have along with it'd have been interesting to see who could have made that song a hit as well.
Right on. All right. Well, wait. There you go. Salute to D'Angela. Also, shout out to Ricky. He didn't make it today, but hopefully he's doing good with family. Salute again to everybody in the chat. Big Sexy Man, thank you for coming on last minute like that and joining us, man. I really appreciate it. Seeley, man, you did your thing this week. Thank you, sir. And hey, work it like a job. We will see you next time. Peace.